This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. We are currently 4 days, 4 hours, and 53 minutes into the Artemis II mission, following a liftoff from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida on April 1st at 5:35 p.m. Central, 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time. On your screen, on the left-hand side, you can see a view of the Artemis Real-Time Orbit website, which provides real-time data and telemetry updates from the Orion spacecraft, especially when we don't have live views coming from the cameras on the spacecraft itself. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see a view of
Integrity Houston. We show ourselves an attitude for the opportunistic science, and we'll be there for about the next 15 minutes.
This is Artemis Mission Control. A few moments ago, you heard a call up to the crew, noting that the Orion spacecraft is in attitude.
Confirm you got a good HHP stream.
We are working it now. So not yet.
Spacecraft is in attitude for the crew to be able to capture some opportunistic science imagery of the moon, looking out of some of the cabin windows of the Orion spacecraft. They were referring to an HHP camera, that's a human health and performance camera inside the Orion spacecraft cabin that they are working to turn on, and we should be getting those views here shortly of the crew inside the Orion spacecraft.
Okay, Reed, finally that cleared up, and now we have a good image inside the cabin.
Okay, we have too many views out the windows right now. We got the moon out 1 through 4, and then Jeremy just spotted Earth out the side hatch window, so we're going to work on all that. But I just wanted to give you a quick once-over. Nobody ever sees the cabin from this side except for us. So I got the camera over on the side hatch side. You can see the Equus wall there.
This is Artemis Mission Control.
Yeah, that's good, Reed. We're seeing that real well.
You're now seeing a live look inside the Orion spacecraft as the crew completes some opportunistic imaging of the moon. It's a bit dark inside the spacecraft because they've turned off the interior lights to provide a better environment to capture some of those images.
Mark, if there's anything of interest you guys are looking for, I'll highlight it. Right now, I'm highlighting a part of Jeremy that probably doesn't need to be highlighted.
Roger that. Could we ask for a slow pan of the port wall the WAP and the food warmer area. Haven't really seen much of that yet. And this is just for curiosity. We're not concerned about anything.
Christina did take some cabin config photos. There's the PWD area.
We're not.
There's the food warmer galley area. Maybe you can see the bungee jail there. I don't know if it's too dark or not.
Yeah, that's a good view. We see those IT cables just wishing they could grow like they did on Space Station.
I just spent about 45 minutes tucking all that stuff down and running power cables for the lunar flyby tomorrow, so it looks a lot better than it did 2 hours ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, Mark, with that, I'm going to stop the feed, and I'm going to go look at the moon for a minute.
All right, copy that. Thank you. We appreciate that extra time. And integrity prop post-burn reconfig is complete.
Integrity copies.
This is Artemis Mission Control. The crew is currently completing some opportunistic lunar science imagery where the Orion spacecraft was maneuvered into an attitude in order to be able to complete that imagery. And there on your screen, you are seeing a live look outside of the Orion spacecraft. This is coming to you from one of the solar array wing cameras. And in the bottom portion of that view, below one of those solar array wings, you can actually see the moon there. Later today, the Orion spacecraft and its crew will reach another important milestone when it enters the lunar sphere of influence, which is when the gravitational forces of the moon will be stronger than that of Earth.
and integrity for the opportunistic science. The images are complete. The view that we have now, the most striking things are the size of the moon and the detail that we can see with the naked eye. It is almost a full moon. Maybe about 10% on the western limb is in the Terminator, and you can really see variations in terrain. There's clearly some large elevation changes on the western edge that's at the Terminator area. The view that we have now at the center is Grimaldi. It's almost dead center. It's just slightly south of center. And Oriental is not quite an orthogonal view, but we're able to really see into it, and you're starting to be able to differentiate the colors that are not the differences in the gray that are down in there. Like there's a dark gray V on the bottom, and then a light gray V on the top in the center of Oriental. And the lighter gray actually matches the rings that are out to the northeast, and the dark gray V in the bottom matches the part of the ring that's very easily visible in the southwest. Also, Grimaldi is the darkest that I can see so far, and then there's one spot that's just to the northwest of Grimaldi that is also very dark, but it really makes Procellarum and Oceanus look lighter. The grays there almost look like looking down on a forest where you can kind of see variations, splotches between light and dark gray. It doesn't look as consistently dark as it does from so far away. And the variation and all that mare, there's a lot of detail in the variation in the dark grays in that mare, and it really stands out now because Aristarchus is so bright in the center of all of that. But again, the biggest things that stand out to me are the size of the moon out the window to the naked eye and the terrain that I can see on the western limb due to the Terminator. I love the Terminator.
That's awesome, Victor. Really good description. It's easy to imagine what you're looking at. Thank you for that. Integrity Houston, heads up, 2-minute warning till we maneuver back.
This is Artemis Mission Control. We just heard some communication there between NASA astronaut Victor Glover, who is the pilot on board the Orion spacecraft, as the crew is completing some opportunistic science imagery of the moon, and they were providing some of that science description down to the team here in Mission Control Houston. The crew has about a 15-minute block to be able to complete this opportunistic imaging, so they're towards the tail end of that block, and then the Orion spacecraft, which you can see a live view of it on your screen, will maneuver back into a biased tail-to-sun attitude. This attitude allows the spacecraft to manage thermal constraints and power generation, and it's the primary passive or passive safe flight orientation during transit. And there you can see that attitude maneuver now taking place to move back into that biased tail-to-sun attitude with the moon in the lower corner of the screen.
Not asking you to break any analysis, but if you could give us 3 more minutes in this attitude, we would take it. We're just trying to wrap up some images, but we understand if you can't. And disregard, we see we're in the maneuver, never mind.
Yeah, sorry about that. Could we make it up to you by getting you a little closer for tomorrow? Hey, while I have you, the darkness report of Grimaldi was unexpected and was something that has got the scientists excited to hear, so thank you for that one, especially.
You are welcome.
And this is Artemis Mission Control with that opportunistic science imaging block now complete. The Orion spacecraft, which you can see a live view on the left-hand side of your screen, is now maneuvering back to its tail-to-sun attitude, or the passive safe attitude, which it typically maintains on its transit to manage thermal and power generation constraints. And then on the right-hand side of your screen, you see a view of the Artemis Real-Time Orbit website, or ARO, which provides a visualization with live data and telemetry coming from the spacecraft. And so we are currently about 231,000 miles from the Earth, and the crew has about 41,000 miles separating them and the spacecraft from the moon. The crew on board the Orion spacecraft is expected to make their lunar close approach and their lunar flyby observation period tomorrow during flight day 6.
Mark, I think one of the most interesting things right now is the 4 of us have looked at this moon our entire lives, and the way we are responding to what we are seeing out the window is, it's just like we're a bunch of little kids up here. Just, we cannot get enough of this. It's amazing. Thank you for the privilege.
Thank you for sharing that special perspective you have with all of us back here.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. You're currently seeing a live view of the exterior of the Orion spacecraft. These views coming to you from the solar array wing cameras. The Orion spacecraft has 4 solar array wings, sometimes referred to as saws, and each of those solar arrays has its own camera. And this view you're seeing here provides a good look of the engines and thrusters that are on the service module of the Orion spacecraft. The crew is currently wrapping up their day. This is the 5th flight day of the Artemis II mission. They will be moving into a private crew conference with the flight director here in Mission Control Houston in about 5 minutes. Following that private conference, they will enter their pre-sleep period, and during this time, they will perform any hygiene activities that they need to before going to bed, and they will also eat their dinner for the day. Some of the items on the cruise menu for dinner this evening include cashew chicken curry, pickled beets, vegetable casserole, beef fajita strips, and fish with mango salsa. Ahead of any mission, the assigned crews typically work with the Space Food Systems Laboratory here in Houston, Texas, to taste the variety of space food options available and pick some of the items that they would like to eat during their mission. The crew often is able to pick some crew preference items. So, for example, CSA astronaut Jeremy Hansen has also brought some Canadian-specific items on board, including some maple syrup and maple cream cookies.
Integrity Houston, be advised that we're getting a little bit of radicom. We've got structure in the way, and it's dropped out a couple of times momentarily or briefly. So if you don't get us at once, try again.
Copy that, Houston.
And this is Artemis Mission Control. You just heard some communication between the CAPCOM, or capsule communicator, here in Mission Control, which for the Orbit 2 ship currently on console is Mark Reagan, and the crew on board the Orion spacecraft discussing the current communication status between the ground and the spacecraft. The crew is about to enter into a private conference between them and the flight director to round out Flight Day 5. The crew typically has a private flight director conference at the end of each day, and the flight director currently on console for Orbit 2 is Diane Daly.
Integrity Houston for Reed.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I understand you temp stowed that snack bag that you prepared earlier today. You are go to double bag that and stow that with the rest of the snack stuff in A1. We're not going to use that, but we want it there because we're going to analyze all of that after you get back.
Maybe knowing that a few hours ago would help me not finish drinking that snack.
Or that. You could do it that way. Okay, and also...
if the team wants,
oh, go
I
ahead.
did get out 2 snacks earlier, and one of them I did not put any water in, and I re-stowed it. I can pull that one out and fill it, and then re-stow it just for analysis.
Not required. It's good in the config it is. And then also we have OE2 privatized for your conference, and you guys are welcome to meet Resolute Flight over there when you're ready.
Houston integrity for wrap-up items.
Go ahead, Christina.
Hey Mark, I have AGA readings when you're ready. Okay, when we turned on the AGA this time, we did have two alarms. One said for HCN, it was like a read error. I don't remember the exact verbiage. That was transient. It went away after just a couple seconds and then read off-scale low. Then we had the expected high oxygen alarm. Other values, CO2, 3.1, oxygen, 26.6, temperature, 75, pressure, 10.45.
Okay, we copy those. Do you have more stuff for us? Do you have?
And for the docking camera, we will be completing that activity shortly.
Okay, awesome. Is that it from you?
And Mark, we were just chatting that we probably owe you a report on Nat Geo shot list. And we have been referring to the shot list, and basically we really just have the cameras out almost at all times. We got the bird today, we got all the suit DFTO, and pretty much every day we've been catching day in the life items, whether that's mealtime or time at the windows observing, and any dynamic operations, and basically kind of the big moments of the day. So we do think we're capturing all those. Let us know if you need more granularity on that, but we are checking the list. We're making sure we get what they'd like and more.
Fantastic, thank you.
That's all we had. Anything from y'all?
Yeah, just the one thing. We are about to start that wastewater dump momentarily, and I know it's pre-sweep time, but it will take any observations if you have them.
We're watching right now, and it's a light blizzard with kind of familiar larger particles and kind of pulsing, chugging. Not a ton of flow right now compared to maybe the higher flow primary dumps or the secondary dumps. But yeah, we're seeing something out there. We're seeing some kind of snowstorm.
Okay, copy. Thank you for the observation.
And Mark, it pretty much came to a complete stop there, and then there's been a couple little spurts, almost a complete stop right now while I'm talking to you.
Copy, Jeremy. We're going to keep it configured to dump and see how far we can get this down. Thank you for the insights. And if you do need to use the toilet, just give us a call.
Copy and understand. Thanks.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. We heard some words from the crew on board the Orion spacecraft. Seeing a live view of that spacecraft on the left-hand side of your screen. Specifically calling down was NASA astronaut Christina Cook, who is one of the mission specialists for the Artemis II mission. They were providing some final updates for the remaining tasks on their timeline for Flight Day 5. They provided some AGA, or anomaly gas analyzer, readings. These readings are provided periodically to provide an update of any trace contaminants and also levels of things such as carbon dioxide in the cabin of the Orion spacecraft. They also provided an update on the docking camera installation. This is another task that is completed pretty regularly, especially ahead of the crew sleep period coming up. And then they also provided some updates on the imagery capture for activities related to a National Geographic documentary. And then
We're seeing flurries out the window now, and slightly increasing just started.
Okay, that's good news. And Jeremy, we got one go back. If you could tell us where the images are from the day, we have good comm and to downlink that stuff right now.
Okay, you can look on PCD2 for the science photos that we took for the opportunistic science. And that's the only ones we've done so far. We're probably going to add a few more later.
Awesome. We'll go look there. Thank you. And if this is it, and I hope it is, good night to you guys. Sleep well.
Good night to you too. We had a great day.
And this is Artemis Mission Control. The final item that the crew was talking about just now was related to a wastewater dump. Again, this is a daily activity that takes place typically towards the end of the flight day. The Universal Waste Management System, or basically the space toilet on board the Orion spacecraft, typically vents its contents overboard each day. The crew is now heading into their pre-sleep period, and during this time they will have the opportunity to eat their dinner and also complete any remainder personal activities for the day to prepare for their upcoming sleep period. They typically have about 2.5 hours dedicated for that pre-sleep period, and then the sleep period itself will last about 8.5 hours.
Integrity Houston, no action for you. We're toggling right at that limit. We're going to inhibit that waste dump required message while we're doing this. Suppress that message.
Okay, makes sense to us. Thanks.
And this is Artemis Mission Control. There on your screen you can see a live look of the Orion spacecraft as it's currently completing an attitude maneuver following that wastewater dump. These views coming to you from the solar array wing cameras. Again, there are four solar array wings, or SAW, on the Orion spacecraft, which provide power generation. And each of those solar array wings has a camera mounted to it, and it provides some of these live views that you've been seeing throughout the mission.
mission integrity on 1 for 10.2 questions.
Go ahead.
First on the dump, very slow flurries, and then the docking camera is powered. And then third, when we went down to 10.2, we just, obviously with the pressure change, a lot of our packaging up here expanded pretty heavily. And one that we noticed is the LIO bags, and we don't know if the LIO inside those bags is damaged by the pressure delta or not. Let us know if you would like to open up the Ziplocs there and take a look. I'm not sure if we have to go into the like the hermetic seal on that bag or not.
Okay, copy the question. We're talking about it. Hey, read the LIO question. Nobody seems too concerned about that right now, but it is going to take a little while to talk to the MER and get a better answer than that. Would you like that called up tonight if we get that tonight, or would you rather just wait and hear it in the morning?
And Mark, we can wait. Thank you.
Okay, copy that.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. We recently received confirmation that the Orion spacecraft and its crew have officially entered the lunar sphere of influence, that milestone taking place at a mission elapsed time of 4 days, 6 hours, 2 minutes, and 54 seconds into the Artemis II mission. By reaching this milestone, it means that the gravitational forces of the Moon are now greater on the Orion spacecraft than that of Earth. Now that the Orion spacecraft has entered the lunar sphere of influence, it will remain in this lunar sphere of influence through the lunar flyby. The lunar flyby is expected to take place on flight day 6, and currently the Orion spacecraft is about 39,000 miles away from the moon and about 232,000 miles away from the Earth.
In Houston Integrity, there's now some photos on PCD3 in for downlink PAO flight day 5.
Copy that. Thank you.
Houston Integrity, PAO images.
Go ahead, Christina.
Hey, Mark, we have a few more images on PCD2 for PAO downlink.
Okay, copy that. In the meantime, we did get some answers back on the LIO question. The first thing, and none of this needs to be worked tonight, but just what the people are thinking is, first we would want to know if you can tell if the seals on the canisters themselves, the Kapton tape seals, are damaged or impacted. And then also we were looking for clarification on whether these were contingency or post-landing LIO.
Hey, Mark, the ones that we can see that are very poofy are post-landing. Our assumption was that potentially others that might be packaged the same are that way. But the Kapton tape of the canister itself, obviously we'd have to open the bubble wrap to see. So maybe that's something we could do tomorrow. But understand, no issue with opening the bubble wrap, which has Kapton tape over the Ziploc seal. And one more clarification, the bag is opaque, so we aren't able to see through it to determine anything about what's inside.
Okay, we didn't understand that piece, but let's look at all of that tomorrow. In the meantime, if these things are so poofy that they're in your way and you just want to get them stowed, you have a go to vent them and make them their regular size.
Okay, I understand. So far, not too in the way, but we'll definitely address tomorrow as able around our awesome day of science. Thank you for the answers.
You bet. Thank you.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. Currently on your screen on the left-hand side, you're seeing a live view of the Orion spacecraft. And on the right-hand side, you can see inside Mission Control here in Houston, specifically the Capcom or Capsule Communicator Console and the Flight Director Console. Currently supporting the Orion spacecraft and its crew in Mission Control are the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers being led by Flight Director Diane Daly, and then the Capcom that you are hearing communicating up with the crew is Mark Reagan. The crew is currently in their pre-sleep period. They will remain in this pre-sleep period for about another hour and a half before they begin their sleep and round out flight day 5. Pre-sleep is typically a 2.5-hour block of time during which the crew has the opportunity to prepare for sleep by completing any hygiene activities and also eating their dinner for the day. On the menu for the crew's dinner this evening are a variety of items, but some of them include beef fajita strips, fish with mango salsa, creamed spinach, and chicken noodle soup. The food that the crew eats plays a key role in maintaining their health and ensuring they can perform their mission objectives to the best of their abilities. And long before launch, the teams here at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, began preparing so that the crew has had everything that they need to enjoy their around-the-moon meals. It started specifically with the Space Food Systems Laboratory, which supports the development and production of space food, menus, packaging, and food-related hardware for all NASA programs, including the Artemis program. And the crew also spent time practicing how to use equipment on board the Orion spacecraft to rehydrate and warm their food inside the full-size Orion mock-up here at the Space Vehicle Mock-up Facility in Houston. Now, of course, while they are in flight, the crew uses a potable water dispenser to rehydrate their chosen food and drink packages, and a briefcase-style food warmer for warming them up. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at how the crew eats in space.
Around the moon meal.
Around the moon meal. What would you eat? Cheese? You think?
Oh my gosh. That's clever. What do you think?
All right, describe. My name is Christina Cook.
And I'm Jeremy Hansen. We're crew members on the Artemis II mission flying around the moon. And when we fly around the moon, of course, we're going to be taking some food with us.
That's right. This is how to eat in space. Here we are in what we call our food lab at NASA Johnson Space Center. We come in here quite often to sample space food. The neat thing about the food selection is it is so diverse. Different entrees that you wouldn't imagine can be rehydrated and actually good in space are completely fair game. And it's pretty awesome.
We came in for Artemis to do this. We got about halfway through the first session and we're like, we're not really sure we're going to have time on board to warm this stuff up. We talked a lot about day one. It's a long day. It's hours before we even leave the launch pad on our way to space. And then when we get to space, we have a lot of important events that day. We just did a sim yesterday where lunch is scheduled. It's
midday meal.
Yeah, midday meal for all four of us. And so those would be great moments, I think, in our mission to have prep some food and sit down or float as a crew and just have a joint meal.
For sure.
I think that'd be fun.
My name is Shulei Wu. I'm the food system manager for ISS and Artemis. The food lab at Johnson Space Center, that's where we make and package most of the space food, and also where we will be making all the food for the Artemis missions. Food is a big part for our crew members. They provide the nutrition, the calorie, micronutrient for crew members, but also boosting crew morale. It's very important. There is always a lot of steps, very strict steps for us to follow to making sure the food we provide are consistent and meet all the food safety, nutritional requirements, and most important, also need to taste good. The other strategy is always promote the variety because everybody's food preference can be very different. Therefore, the more variety we can have, the better to meet the needs of the astronaut group.
They bring out these little tiny samples of each food, and you're like, oh my gosh, I thought we were having lunch. And then by the end, there's so many space foods, and every time you leave, you're like, I am so full.
I'm so full, I'm in pain.
And you just rate them like, I love this, I don't want to eat it, I'd eat it if you tell me I need it. Because what the food lab does is they take all your preferences, but they're also like good parents and they're like, you need a well-balanced diet.
Exactly. They were like, no, you can't have mac and cheese every day, Christina. Sorry.
I'm Wyeth McKinley. I'm a flight controller and a crew instructor for Artemis II. We're here at the Space Vehicle Mock-Up Facility at Johnson Space Center. We're inside the Orion mock-up where we perform crew training for the Artemis II mission. On the Orion vehicle, crew is able to heat up their food using our briefcase-style food warmer. The food is held in contact with the central heater plate by these springs so they can warm up and they can have a delicious meal. Much of the food and drink that's on Orion is rehydratable. And so crew at our potable water dispenser will fill up their food and drink, and then at that point, you go ahead and pop it into your food warmer.
I'm kind of envisioning there's maybe one person putting the stuff in and out, kind of tossing it out to everyone as it's done. Or maybe if we're not scheduled together, you're just on your own over there, popping some things in. Or maybe just in your 2 minutes of free time between things, you're kind of getting it ready so it has time to warm up. We'll see.
Eating together really resonates with me. I think it's just a human thing to break bread together and to enjoy that necessary thing you have to do, the thing you should be grateful for. And so doing that as a group, as a family, has always been meaningful for me.
Absolutely. It represents togetherness and something a little out of the ordinary. You don't necessarily get to have those meals with everybody in your life, but if you are sharing a meal, especially if you're sharing breakfast, lunch, and dinner with a group of people, that means something. It's like a camping trip.
And this is Artemis Mission Control. That was a look at how the crew eats in space. The crew is currently in their pre-sleep period, during which they have the opportunity to eat their dinner and also complete any hygiene activities in preparation for going to sleep. Once they enter that sleep period, it's about an 8.5-hour period of time, and then that will round out flight day 5. We're currently 4 days, 6 hours, and 36 minutes into the Artemis II mission, following a liftoff from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida on April 1st at 5:35 p.m. Central, 6:35 p.m. Eastern. And you are currently seeing a live view of the Orion spacecraft as it makes its way to the moon. It's expected to make its lunar flyby and close approach tomorrow on flight day 6. The Orion spacecraft did recently enter the lunar sphere of influence. That milestone took place around 11:37 p.m. Central Time, 12:37 a.m. Eastern Time, and it marked the milestone of when the Orion spacecraft was being influenced by the gravitational forces of the moon versus that of Earth.
Houston for Christina.
Go ahead.
Here we have some general toilet info for you guys. We are about to terminate the wastewater dump because we have some docking camera objectives happening. We do have enough oilage for one more use. So anytime between this termination here shortly and 9:20, which is when we'll resume dumping again, one more use can happen. And then our objective is to be done with this dumping overnight, and by the time post-sweep starts, it will be ready for another use or more.
Okay, thank you so much for that insight, Mark. We've been watching the light snowstorm outside. We see the quantity coming down a little bit. And just to make sure I have the time correct, it was 09:20, and that's an MET today, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And another question, can we use the secondary pump or the secondary waste line during these docking cam ops?
Checking. How about this? If we can avoid it before that time, that's great. If you need to use it, you need to use it.
Okay.
And you go to dump
Next
now if you need to as well.
That we're asking is, can we use the toilet if it is for fecal and not urine?
Checking. No constraints on fecal use.
Okay, I think we've got everything we need. It's amazing how many questions you can ask about using the toilet. We appreciate all of your care, and you can expect a pretty late single use of toilet near 9:20, and we'll minimize the secondary waste dumps.
Copy all. Thank you.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. We are currently 4 days, 6 hours, and 50 minutes into the Artemis II mission. Currently on your screen on the left-hand side, you can see a live look of the Orion spacecraft. as it makes its approach towards the moon. This view coming to you from one of the cameras on the solar array wings. And then on the right-hand side, you can see a view of the Artemis Real-Time Orbit website, which provides updates on the real-time data and telemetry from the Orion spacecraft. And you can track this website at nasa.gov/trackartemis. Currently, the Orion spacecraft is about 233,000 miles away from Earth and about 38,000 miles away from the moon. We just heard some conversations between the crew, specifically NASA astronaut Christina Cook, currently on board the Orion spacecraft named Integrity, and the CAPCOM, or capsule communicator here in Mission Control, Mark Reagan. They were discussing a recent wastewater dump. These typically take place towards the end of each day. And the Universal Waste Management System on board the Orion spacecraft is basically the space toilet, and it has to empty out the urine tank each day, and it's vented overboard. The crew is currently in their pre-sleep period. They have a little more than an hour remaining in that pre-sleep period before they enter into their sleep period to round out flight day 5. Throughout the day, the crew has completed a variety of activities. They spent most of the first half of their day focused on a Orion Crew Survival System Suit developmental flight test objective. During this test objective, the crew members donned or put on their OX suits, which are those orange pressurized suits that they wear during various dynamic events, such as launch and re-entry. They then worked to get seated, and they also completed several different tasks. This developmental flight test objective did end up taking a little bit longer than expected, so they didn't complete all of the objectives. And then they moved into their midday meal, or their lunch period, and then afterwards they focused mainly on the outbound trajectory correction burn 3. This ended up being a 17.2 second burn to fine-tune the path of the Orion spacecraft as it continues to make its journey around the moon. This was the first trajectory correction burn that ended up being executed during this mission, as the first 2 outbound trajectory correction burns were canceled on flight days 3 and 4, as they were determined to not be needed due to the accuracy of the translunar injection burn, or TLI burn, which took place on flight day 2. Following that outbound trajectory correction burn, the crew then was able to do some opportunistic science imaging. So the Orion spacecraft was maneuvered into an attitude that allowed the crew to capture imagery of the moon from the windows in the Orion spacecraft cabin and provide some observations down to the science team here in Mission Control Houston. Following that opportunistic imaging, the crew just completed some final tasks for the day, and they had a private conference with the flight director here in Mission Control Houston. They typically have a private conference towards the end of every day to go over vehicle status and any other topics or questions that may be on their minds. They then entered their pre-sleep period, which is where they remain now, and during that pre-sleep period, they did officially enter the lunar sphere of influence, that milestone being passed a little under an hour ago at 11:37 p.m. Central Time, 12:37 a.m. Eastern Time.
Houston, thank you for putting the moon directly in window 3. It just took our breath away. And for the first time this mission, the 400 mil lens, it doesn't fit completely inside the viewfinder.
That's a pretty awesome milestone. And if you feel any different in the last hour, that's because we entered the sphere of influence.
That we noticed we entered the lunar sphere of influence about an hour ago, and sure enough, we are now falling to the moon rather than rising away from Earth. It is an amazing milestone. Also, earlier we had the Earth out as a crescent out the side hatch and the moon out window 3, and definitely by far the moon is bigger than the Earth.
That's such a special perspective. Thank you for sharing that.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. We just heard some communication there from the crew on board the Orion spacecraft named Integrity, and you can see a live look of that spacecraft there on your screen. Those views coming to you from the solar array wing cameras. During that call down from the crew, they did acknowledge entering the lunar sphere of influence. That milestone did take place a little over an hour ago at 11:37 p.m. Central Time, 12:37 a.m. Eastern Time. By passing that milestone, it means the moon's gravity is now exerting more force on the Orion spacecraft and its crew than the Earth's gravity.
for one more photo.
Go ahead.
Hey Mark, on PCD1 and imagery for downlink, just sitting on its own, not in any folder, is 6684, which we just took with the 35 mil lens, and it's the perfect human eye perspective of the moon out the window with the interior of Orion visible. It's a pretty cool picture if you want to share that with the team or with PAO.
We'll get that down right away. Thank you.
This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. We are currently 4 days, 7 hours, and 40 minutes into the Artemis II mission. The crew is about to enter their sleep period to close out flight day 5, and throughout the day, the crew worked on an ox suit demonstration. The Orion Crew Survival System suits are those orange suits that are worn by the crew during dynamic portions of the mission, such as launch and re-entry. And during this demonstration, they donned or put on their suits, pressurized them, and demonstrated some normal operations. During the second part of their day, they then prepared for and monitored an outbound trajectory correction burn, or OTC-3 burn. This burn took place at 10:03 p.m. Central Time, 11:03 p.m. Eastern Time, and was a 17.2-second firing of the pulse-X thrusters of the Orion spacecraft to fine-tune its trajectory. Following the completion of this burn, the Orion spacecraft was maneuvered into an attitude to allow for some opportunistic imaging and science observations of the moon. And then the crew began to wind down for the day and entered their pre-sleep period, which they are currently in and about to enter their pre-sleep period. During the beginning of their pre-sleep period, the Orion spacecraft and its crew did officially enter the lunar sphere of influence at 11:37 p.m. Central Time, 12:37 a.m. Eastern Time, which means the moon's gravity is now exerting more force on the Orion spacecraft than the Earth's gravity. There on your screen on the left-hand side, you can see a live view of the Orion spacecraft. These views coming to you from the cameras on the solar array wings. There are 4 solar array wings on the Orion spacecraft that provide power generation. And on the right-hand side, you can see a view of the Artemis Real-Time Orbit website, or ARROW, which is available at nasa.gov/trackartemis. The Orion spacecraft and its crew are now about 234,000 miles away from the Earth and about 36,000 miles away from the moon. During the upcoming flight day 6, which will begin once the crew wakes up from their 8.5-hour sleep period, it will be an exciting day for the crew and all the teams supporting them here on the ground. This will be when the Orion spacecraft and its crew make its closest approach to the moon and surpass the Apollo 13 distance record. The Orion spacecraft is expected to make its closest approach around 6:02 p.m. Central Time, 7:02 p.m. Eastern Time on April 6th. During the closest approach, they are expected to be at a distance of 4,070 miles from the surface of the moon. And then a few minutes after that milestone, the Orion spacecraft will reach its farthest distance from the Earth at a distance of 252,760 miles, which is 4,105 miles farther than Apollo 13 went. In addition to these milestones, there will be an approximately 6-hour period of time allotted to allow the crew to make observations about the moon. This is the lunar flyby observation period, and the crew's observations, handheld photography, and images from the Orion spacecraft will form the basis for scientific investigations into the moon's geological history, the lunar environment, and current processes such as new impacts. Again, all of this coming up on flight day 6, just around the corner.
Houston integrity on 1 for email.
With you, Reed.
Hey, Mark, as we have passed into the lunar sphere of gravitational influence, I think that fixed it. Huge thanks to the team down there as we head around the moon tomorrow. It is really great to be reunited with some family, and I appreciate all the effort that you all have put into it. And email is working great. Thank you so much.
Glad to hear the confirmation of that. You're welcome, sir. Have a great evening.
We will, and we are assuming that we can start doing secondary dumps at 9:30 MET. If that changes, please let us know, because we do plan to use that capability.
(9:30) is a good time. No changes to that.
Okay, in that case, we're all starting our lunar targeting packages here. You can see the glow in everybody's eyes from the PCDs, and we're going to head off to slumber here soon. Thanks.
Awesome. Sleep well.
This is Artemis Mission Control. We just heard some communication there between the crew on board the Orion spacecraft, specifically NASA astronaut Reed Wiseman and the Capcom capsule communicator here in Mission Control Houston. They were talking about a couple of different topics, including some email access. That access was being worked by the CDH position here in Mission Control. That stands for the Command and Data Handling console, which monitors various computers and aviotic subsystems on board the spacecraft and ensures the health and functionality of the spacecraft's electronic equipment. The crew also mentioned that they were reviewing their lunar targeting package prior to heading into their sleep period. That lunar targeting package is the primary tool that guides crew observations during the lunar flyby, which is planned for Flight Day 6, which will begin upon crew wake. And it consists of two key components: the Lunar Geography Review, which helps astronauts study major lunar features and also how to orient themselves during the flyby, as well as the Lunar Targeting Plan, which provides a detailed timeline of observation targets, along with some background science context and specific instructions for imaging and verbal descriptions. The Artemis II crew also trained with a Lunar Science Passport, which is a reference guide used on Earth to reinforce the recognition of key lunar features. And while it didn't fly with them, it did support the crew readiness in advance of the mission and the upcoming lunar flyby. The apparent size of the moon will change throughout the flyby. It will appear roughly like a basketball held at arm's length at closest approach. Again, we are expecting that lunar close approach to take place around 6:02 p.m. Central Time, 7:02 p.m. Eastern Time on April 6th. The closest approach will be at a distance of about 4,070 miles from the surface of the moon. This is Artemis Mission Control. The view that you were previously seeing was coming from the docking camera on the Orion spacecraft. And now the view you are seeing here is coming from the solar array wings on the exterior of the Orion spacecraft. That view pointing down towards the service module. Specifically, you can see the thrusters at the base of the service module, those auxiliary thrusters along with the main engine there in the center. This is Artemis Mission Control in Houston, Texas. We are currently 4 days, 8 hours, and 22 minutes into the Artemis II mission, following a launch on Wednesday, April 1st at 5:35 p.m. Central, 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time. The crew on board the Orion spacecraft recently entered their sleep period about 40 minutes ago. This will be an 8.5-hour period of time. Following the conclusion of that sleep period, they will begin Flight Day 6. Flight Day 6 will be an exciting day for both the crew as well as all the teams here on the ground. This is when the Orion spacecraft and its crew will have their lunar flyby. During this period of time, they will also make the closest approach to the moon. That is expected around 6:02 p.m. Central Time, 7:02 p.m. Eastern Time on April 6th. This approach will be at a distance of 4,070 miles from the surface of the moon. And then following that milestone, the Orion spacecraft will reach its farthest distance from the Earth at a distance of 252,760 miles, which will surpass the Apollo 13 distance records by 4,105 miles. During the approximately 6-hour lunar flyby period, the crew will be making observations about the moon, and the crew's observations combined with handheld photography and images from the Orion spacecraft will form the basis for scientific investigations into the moon's geological history, the lunar environment, and current processes such as new impacts. Artemis II lunar science Deputy Lead Marie Henderson was one of the trainers who helped prepare the astronauts on board the Orion spacecraft to capture and document their views of the lunar surface for all of us back here home on Earth. So let's go ahead and learn a little bit more about how the Artemis II crew will capture the moon for all of us here at home.
I cannot wait to hear their voices when they get to the far side of the moon and I can hear them talk about seeing the moon out their window. I try to imagine it now and just I tear up thinking about it. Ooh, now I gotta hold on a second. We have human eyeballs connected to wonderfully smart brains our astronaut friends have. They are going to be able to observe the moon in multiple different ways. They can use their eyes, they'll look through their camera and snap pictures, and just looking out the window getting that human experience. But during Apollo, the astronauts were so much closer to the lunar surface. Our astronauts are going to be doing a flyby at a higher altitude, so they're going to be able to see the whole moon as a lunar disk on the lunar far side. That's a brand new, unique perspective that humans haven't been able to look at before. We are doing a lot of lunar geography training with them. They have study sessions and quizzes they can do that are assigned to them. You know, even if you're an astronaut, you still get homework. We actually get in the mock-up. In that enclosed physical space, we have to think through the hardware that they have, the cameras, the computers, their microphones to make these observations. There's 4 windows up front. Through one of those windows, one of our astronauts will be using a Nikon D5 camera with an 80 to 400 millimeter lens. So something that allows them to zoom in really far and actually take more detailed observations of the surface. It's almost like looking through a pair of binoculars as well. It's just like being a geologist out in the field. They're telling us what they're seeing, looking for colors, textures, different morphologies, and comparing the region that we're having them look at to the regions that are around them. We have a science team that is planning the targets that are going to be observed, putting them all on the timeline of how they're going to be observed, and then taking the first look at the data when it comes down. The Apollo astronauts were only on the moon for 300 hours total, and they only went to the equator. That's like going to places that were safer landing sites, and they only saw so little, 300 hours total. And so we have so much more to explore and so much more to learn, and we are the beginning of the next generation that gets to start being a part of these discoveries.
This is Artemis Mission Control. You're now seeing a view of the Artemis real-time orbit website as the Artemis spacecraft continues to make its way towards the moon. It entered the lunar sphere of influence a couple of hours ago at 11:37 p.m. Central Time, 12:37 a.m. Eastern Time. This milestone marked the moment when the moon's gravity started exerting more force on the Orion spacecraft and its crew than the Earth's gravity. The Orion spacecraft and its crew will remain in the lunar sphere of influence for the next couple of days, and it will officially exit the lunar sphere of influence on flight day 7. That view on your screen there, the left-hand side, is a view coming from the docking camera on the Orion spacecraft looking at the moon. And then on the right-hand side, again, is that visualization, which provides the data and telemetry coming down from the Orion spacecraft itself.